Alright guys, we are back for another day of doing our packet. Today we're going to finish the social studies lesson on using maps, and that will be it for this week's packet. So today we're going to take a look at this map here. We're going to start here. Native American cultural regions of Eastern North America, and it's showing us a map. And it has a few questions down here. So it says study the map and answer the questions. The first question says, list two neighbors of the Algonquian. So, two neighbors of the Algonquian. So here's the Algonquin. And I just need to find two neighbors, so I'm going to find the closest people. And I think that would be the Micmac and the Mohegan. So I'm going to go ahead and write those two down because to me those look like they're probably the closest. So I don't have to do this in complete sentences because this is a short answer and there's really not room. So Micmac and Mohegan. Okay, number 2. What is the name of the region where the Aztecs lived? So let's take a look. We have to find the Aztecs. All of these are Native American tribes, so we have to find the Aztecs. I found it right here, Aztec. So it says, what is the name of the region where the Aztecs lived? The name of the region is, these are all North American tribe names, or Native American tribe names. So the region is this right here, Middle America. That's the region in which they live. Okay. Number 3, how many culture regions are named on the map? Culture regions. Well, you can see right there, we just did one. That was our answer to the last question, was one of the culture regions. It's in all capital letters, and it's showing a different area. So I'm going to count all the names of the regions that are in all capital letters that are showing different areas. Now this one right here doesn't count. This one's just showing South America. But all these that are in capital letters, I'm going to count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There are 8 culture regions. I'm just going to write 8. Number 4, what is the name of the people living in the Arctic region? So we're going to have to find the Arctic region. So if you'll look at your map, we have to find where the Arctic region is. I see the word Arctic here. So this says Arctic, and this says subarctic. So sub means below or beneath. So the subarctic is down here, while the Arctic is up here. So above this line here, I'm looking to see what is the name of the people living in this Arctic region. And the only tribe I see here above the word Arctic is the Inuit tribe. The Inuit tribe. So that's going to be our answer for number 4. Okay, next page. We have, this is really supposed to make one long page, and it is a little difficult to see the different shades here. So it's a little difficult, but I'm going to walk you through it so that we can look at it together. But here's what it says. Special purpose climate map. Another type of special purpose map is a climate map. Climate is the average weather in a place. This map shows the different climates of the world. The distance from the ocean, the latitude, and the elevation help determine a region's climate. Climate, or weather conditions, also affects where and how people live. This map shows 6 basic climates. first we have here the polar climates. These areas are called tundra and ice cap regions. They get little snow or rain and are usually very cold all year. Mild climates. These areas have rainy winters that are mild to cool. Summers can be warm to hot. These regions may be dry or wet. Tropical climates. Areas that are tropical are hot all year. Some of these areas may be rainy all year, while others may have a dry season. Continental climates. These areas usually have wet summers that may be cool in some regions and hot in others. Winters are cold to very cold and snowy. Highland climates. Elevation, or the height of the land from sea level, affects the climates of these areas. High elevations are colder than low elevations. Their distance from the equator also affects highland climates. Areas farther away from the equator are usually cold. Dry climates. True deserts are very dry throughout the entire year. Some dry areas, such as semi-deserts, are dry, but they may get occasional rain. And then here we see our compass rose. We have the climate key, which again is kind of hard to see because of the different shades of gray. And then here are some examples of each one of these climates: polar, mild, tropical, continental, highland, dry. Look at the United States on the map. What climate type is shown for the area where you live? It's kind of hard to see, but if you will look here, here is the United States, and we are here in this southern half of the United States toward the middle. So this is the lighter gray color. Now it's not the lightest gray. It's not the darkest gray. It's like a medium gray color. So if I look over here, the color that it's trying to be is continental. And I know that because this describes exactly what our climate is like. We usually have wet summers that might be cool in some regions and hot in others. So our summers are hot. Winters are cold to very cold and snowy. So we are a continental climate. Okay, number 2. Find the Antarctic Circle. Do you think the climate south of the Antarctic Circle is most likely to be wet and cold or dry and cold? Why? Okay, first we have to find the Antarctic Circle on this map. So look on your map, see if you can find the Antarctic Circle. If you will look, it is right here. The Antarctic Circle. This is dotted line down below. So it's asking me, do I think it's most likely to be wet and cold or dry and cold, and why? Now, the Antarctic, we know, is a polar climate. So if we look at the description of a polar climate, these areas are called tundra and ice cap regions. They get little snow or rain and are usually very cold all year long. So since they get little snow or rain, is that going to be wet or dry? The answer is it's going to be dry and cold. Because it is a polar climate. Dry and cold because it is a polar climate. Okay, number 3. Compare the photo of the dry climate area and the polar climate area. How does the climate affect the way people live, what the people wear, and what the people eat? Okay, so here is the dry climate area. We can see it's really a deserty region. It's a little hard to see in the picture, but not too bad. And then we have the polar climate. This picture is a little difficult to see, but we know that polar climates are usually covered in tundra and ice cap regions. So it's very cold, icy. So it's asking, how does the climate affect the way the people live, what the people wear, and what the people eat? So polar climate, people are trying to stay warm. So they build warm houses. And where? I'm going to go over here because I already know I'm going to run out of room. And wear warm clothing. In dry climates, it can be very hot. So people are trying to stay cool. So they build houses that can be easily cooled and wear clothing that is, they build houses that can be easily cooled and wear clothing that is not too hot. I'm already running out of room and I haven't even said what they eat. In polar climates, now if you think of this, in polar climates, if there's constantly ice on the ground, they're not going to be able to grow crops and things like that. But a lot of these people live near oceans and bodies of water. So they're able to fish, eat different ocean creatures such as whales, seals, and things like that. So in polar climates, they eat a lot of seafood. And in dry climates, it can also be difficult for them to grow crops and things. If they're near a river and they have vegetation there, then they can. But a lot of times in dry climates, they rely on their livestock, such as goats, camels, and things to provide their food. So I'm going to say in dry climates, they rely on livestock. And that's all I have room for. I could go on some more, but that's all I'm going to put. So I'm going to read it to you again. You do not have to put this whole thing, but you can summarize it if you'd like, or you can add your own details. In the polar climate, people are trying to stay warm, so they build warm houses and wear warm clothing. In dry climates, it can be very hot, so people are trying to stay cool, so they build houses that can be easily cooled and wear clothing that is not too hot. In polar climates, they eat a lot of seafood, and in dry climates, they rely on livestock. Okay, this is a special purpose map, and this is a historical map. Historical maps give information about a place as it was in the past. For example, if you had a historical Civil War map, it would show you where all the major battles were fought. Knowing how to read this type of map can help you gather and understand information. Historical maps add to the text you read and help show the information in a way that is easy to understand. Always look for the title and the date or time period for the map. Study the legend carefully to find out what the symbols or colors mean. So here's our title. It is North America in 1763, so we know that that's not now. That's in the past. That's why it's called a historical map. Here is the compass rose that tells us which direction is north, east, south, and west. And here is our legend, and that shows us, again, it's difficult to see because of the gray, but it shows us the different areas and who is over those certain areas. Use the map in the article, The French and Indian War, to answer these questions. So we also need to go ahead and read our article here, The French and Indian War, and then we can start answering our questions. In the 1700s, France and Great Britain were the two most powerful nations in Europe. Both countries had important colonies in North America. France owned Canada, all the land around the Great Lakes, and all the land west of the Appalachian Mountains. The French carried on a rich trade in furs in the Ohio River Valley. The British colonies also wanted to live and trade in the Ohio Valley. British colonists began to move into the area. In 1756, Britain and France declared war. The French and Indian War had begun. The war is called the French and Indian War because most Native Americans in North America fought with the French against the British. The Native Americans felt the French trappers did not threaten their way of life. The British settlers, however, took their land. In 1763, the British won. France had to give up almost all of its territory in North America. But some Native Americans continued to fight. They wanted to protect their land from British settlers. These uprisings worried the British, and they issued the Proclamation of 1763. This closed all the land west of the Appalachians to American settlers and hunters. The land was saved for Native Americans. The colonists were angry. They did not believe in Britain's reasons for closing the land. The colonists thought that Britain wanted to control them by grouping the settlers together in the east. The split between Great Britain and the colonies began to widen. Okay, so number 1 says, what was the major boundary between British land and New Spain? So first what we want to do is we want to see if it says in the passage that there's a major boundary between British land and New Spain. As I look through the passage, I'm not finding anywhere that it says what the boundary is in the passage. So then what I need to do is I need to look at the map. And I need to take a look. This light gray color is New Spain. This here, this little darker gray color is British North America. So I can see here the major boundary. A boundary is where the two meet. And Great Britain can't cross over to here. New Spain can't cross over to here because this is the boundary line. And what I see here on this line is a river. And this is the Mississippi River. So it looks to me that the Mississippi River is the boundary line between Great Britain, or British land, and New Spain. The Mississippi River. Okay, number 2, what country controlled the Great Lakes area? If I look over here, I'm going to look in the passage first to see if it tells me what country controlled the Great Lakes area. And right here in the second passage, I see the word Great Lakes, so I'm going to read and see what it says to see if it gives me any information about what country controlled the Great Lakes area. France owned Canada, all the land around the Great Lakes, and all the land west of the Appalachian Mountains. So there's my answer. It says France. France owned Canada and all the land around the Great Lakes. So what country controlled the Great Lakes area? France. And number 3, how would the Proclamation of 1763 help Native Americans? So let's take a look in our passage to see if it says anything about the Proclamation of 1763. And as I'm skimming the article, I can already see right here it says Proclamation of 1763. So I'm going to see what it says and see if it says how it's going to help Native Americans. These uprisings worried the British, and they issued the Proclamation of 1763. This closed all the land west of the Appalachian Mountains to American settlers and hunters. The land was saved for Native Americans. Okay, so it says exactly right here what the Proclamation of 1763 did for the Native Americans. It saved them that land. So I'm going to go ahead and write that. It closed, oops, you can't see. It closed all the land west of the Appalachian Mountains I'll just say Appalachians to American settlers and saved it for the Native Americans. So it closed all the land west of the Appalachians to American settlers and saved it for Native Americans. And there's our answer. This article describes the results of the French and Indian War. After reading the article, identify the point of view of each statement as either said by the British or by the colonists. Write either British or colonist after each statement to tell whose point of view is expressed. So we're going to have to read each of these statements and see, okay, who would be saying this? Would this be from the British point of view or from the colonists' point of view? Let's take a look. The colonists should have the right to settle on any land owned by Britain. Who do you think is saying that? If they're saying the colonists should have the right. To me, that sounds like the colonists are saying that. They're trying to fight for their rights to settle on any land owned by Britain. So, the colonists. Sounds like a colonist would be saying that. Number 2, the colonists should not settle on lands west of the Appalachians. Who might be saying that? That would be the British. You'll see, number 1, that's really in favor of the colonists. We should have the right to settle on any land. So that sounds like it's coming out of a colonist's mouth. This one's not really in favor of colonists. So this is coming from someone that is British. And the last page of our packet, special purpose city map, Washington, D.C. has seen many changes over the years. It is the capital of the United States and home to the White House. In Washington, you'll find monuments and museums that explain our nation's history. Below is a city map of the area in Washington called the Mall. This type of mall is a large, shaded public walk. Here you'll find the Washington Monument and the Lincoln and Jefferson Memorials. If you visited the mall, you may not know where to go to see sights. A city map will help. City maps show details of a small area. They usually show you interesting places to visit. Be sure to look at the compass rose. It tells you which direction is north, east, south, and west. So here's our compass rose. Tell us which direction is which. And then we have a little map here. If you'll notice here in the corner, it tells us that M in the box is a metro station, and the P is parking. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions. Number 1, if you were standing at the Jefferson Memorial, what is the fastest route to get to the Lincoln Memorial? So let's take a look. The first thing we have to do is find the Jefferson Memorial and then find the Lincoln Memorial and see which route would be the fastest. Here's the Jefferson Memorial and here's the Lincoln Memorial. even though it's not on the map down here, I can see a road that goes right here. And it looks to me like if the map kept going, Ohio Drive would connect here to get to the Jefferson Memorial. And it goes straight to the Lincoln Memorial. So I'm going to say that the answer to this one is Ohio Drive. Because it looks like it would just attach them. Any of these other ways, you could get there, but it doesn't look like it would be the fastest route. Number 2. What is the closest metro station to the Washington Monument? Okay, we need to find the Washington Monument. There it is right there, the Washington Monument. What is the closest metro station? Now remember, the metro stations are the boxes with the M, just like it says on this key. So here's the Washington Monument, and I'm looking for the closest metro station. There are no metro stations over here on this side, so I have to look at the closest metro station. It looks to me like this one is the closest. From there to there, closest metro station. There's also a metro station right here that looks like it's pretty close too. What I do sometimes when I'm not sure is I'll take the end of my pencil, like this green part, and I'll say, okay, that's about the length of this green part of my pencil. Then I'm going to measure this one. That one's quite a bit further away because the green part of my pencil can't touch it. So I know that this one is closer. So what is the closest metro station to the Washington Monument? This metro station right here. And it's on the corner of, this is 12th Street, and this is Independence Avenue. So it's on the corner of 12th and Independence. It's right here on the corner of those two streets where they meet. Okay, number 3. If you were in Constitution Gardens, in which direction would you go to get to Constitution Avenue? Okay, I've got to find Constitution Gardens. Okay, there it is right there underneath the Washington Monument. Constitution Gardens. And then I need to find Constitution Avenue. Okay, here it is right here. It's this road. Goes all the way across. So if I'm in Constitution Gardens, which direction do I have to go? Let's take a look at our compass rose. This direction is north. We have east, south, and west. So if I'm going this way, according to my compass rose, that's north. Because it goes all the way across. So we just go straight up and we would get to Constitution Avenue. And number 4, what is the symbol for parking? What is the symbol for parking? Well, I can look down here at my legend or my key, and I know that M in the box is the metro station, and P in the box is parking. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that symbol and put a P inside a box, and that's the symbol for parking. And that was the last page of our packet. So great job, guys. We will start back again Monday with your new packet for next week. So great job. Thank you for joining along. Bye.